What's up, everyone, and welcome back. You are watching Well-Rounded Individual. I am your host, Adam Schindler. If you are watching this right now, I want to thank you, and I want to ask you to just do me a real quick favor. Click that follow button, click that subscribe button if you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify. It just really helps to grow the show and just helps me bring a better product for you. But once again, I've got another great guest for you for the Well-Rounded Individual podcast. He is a businessman, a family man. He's a Las Vegas local from the great state of Ohio. But he also is the owner of the Strip CrossFit, the Strip Barbell, and Tread Vegas. So lots of knowledge to be had and divulged here. Welcome to the show, Joe Tepe. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, second podcast. So
hey,
we're making progress.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with silver.
Yeah, no, actually third. I apologize. I did one a couple years ago pre-COVID.
Oh,
and
nice.
I did one about. I told myself earlier in the year I was going to start trying to do it more frequently, and this is now my second this year. So I'm two for 2024. Hopefully I'll get 3 next year.
Sweet, man. Sounds good. Great way to grow as well.
Yeah.
Excellent, man. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I think there's going to be a lot of value you're going to be able to provide to, just everyone who's tuning in here. You got like a quite extensive background in fitness and many other things that I'm excited to learn about. But first thing that I always ask every guest that's on the Well-Rounded Individual podcast is, what does that mean to you? What are some like characteristics or like some values that you would say a well-rounded person or a well-rounded individual has?
I think I've changed it a lot over the years. Growing up as a person that was, overweight and obese, didn't have like goals, didn't really have like things that they were working towards in one degree of life, but like wanted to make money, wanted to be a business person, wanted to do different things. I felt like, it was always kind of working really hard on one. Now, I think being a well-rounded person is working on your weaknesses. That if you have, say, 3 or 4 different areas of life, that everything's 85% or so, and that you're always trying to bring the bottom one up, that you're never like continuing to work on the top, that you're like know what you're really good at, but that you're willing to put forth the effort on the other stuff. And a lot of people kind of like will like disregard that in life, in fitness, in health, in diet, and that they get so focused on one thing or one piece that they start losing the other things. They lose family, they lose this or that. And I think that being a well-rounded person is knowing or being willing to look at yourself in the mirror, put down on a piece of paper that like, hey, like these are the 5 areas I want to focus on for my life, or these are the 5 different areas of my life. And like this one is a glaring weakness, and this is where I need to spend my effort. And knowing that like, hey, like if I keep bringing up the bottom, everything will get better. Right. If I continue to bring up that one instead of working to get 1% better at the thing I'm the best at, if I take up the 70 up to 80, it's going to be a much bigger increase overall than the small nuanced stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's kind of like a rising tide raises all ships. And also focusing on that weakness, right? That takes a lot of like, just like lack of ego, but just really just awareness of yourself, right? To know that and to be able to admit that you're not as good at something. Yeah. To be able to focus on that.
Yeah. I think yes, I think it is. To an outside person, it can look at as ego. But I think much more like in person, I think it's like really just being okay with not being okay at things and willing to like give it your best shot, right? And being able to correct it. A lot of people will wait till the time is perfect to start something instead of just starting something and continuing to refine it to make it better. Right. The more opportunity that you have, the more times that you do things, the better you're going to get at the result of those things. And then being able to look at as a whole and saying, hey, like what areas of my life, family, health, financial, like where is my lack point or where do I need more focus, and trying to bring that up to make it in par or on par with the other ones to have a great life, to have friends, to have family, to have financial success, to have the freedoms, to be healthy, to be able to run, to be able to lift weights, any number of facets of life that you want to put into those things, but looking at them all and being truthful with yourself and saying, hey, where is the bottom? Which one's the worst right now? And focusing on it.
Right. Analyzing it figuring out which one needs help, and then taking the action.
Yeah.
Right? It goes back to what we were kind of just talking about, since the last 20 minutes is that's what's most important. You can think yourself through things all day long, but you can't think yourself to success. You have to act yourself to success.
Yeah. I mean, everybody wants to talk about like I'm in the fitness journey, and everybody wants to say, I got to wait till like the timing's perfect. It's like, I have a cruise coming up, or I have a vacation that I'm going to be out of town for 3 days. Well, perfect. Now's the best time to start, because you know what? It's the closest or the most amount of time that you're going to have to get good at it. You're always going to have things that come up. And if you can work through interruptions, if you can work through the hard times and figure out things when they're hard, then when it is easy, or when it is like the best scenario, then things will be even easier to be able to like work on fitness, to be able to work on your business, work on podcasts, work on whatever that goal is that you want to create, that you don't need to wait till like, hey, I have 17 days off, now I'm going to start. No, because that's not going to be long term. Nothing short term in that variety is going to last you or be of substance for a long period of time.
I like to use that analogy as well, like especially with my clients when when they give me all like the stories of all the things that have been going wrong, why they can't do something. I'm like, oh, well, that's perfect. Imagine how easy this is going to be when things are going well.
Yeah. I mean, I heard it on another podcast. I mean, even if you have a full-time job and you sleep 7 hours a night, you still have 7 dedicated hours that you can do towards anything else.
Right.
Whether that be an extra new business, whether that be spending more time with the family, whether that be your fitness and your health. But I mean, you have 7 dedicated hours or 8 dedicated hours. If you break it evenly, 8, 8, and 8, 8 sleep hours, 8 work hours of the day. Well, you have another 8 hours that you can do or focus on bettering your life and bettering the things that you want to do outside of the 2 non-negotiables. Right. I mean, obviously everybody needs to sleep. Everybody needs to get 6 or 8 hours. That's a non-negotiable. If you're working, if you need to pay for your family, if you need to do this, the 8 hours there at work is non-negotiable, but you still got 8 more hours that you don't have to sit there and, fuck off on Instagram scrolling for 20 or 30 minutes, which I know if I look, I get it every Sunday, my alert, my screen time. And again, a lot of that time is work because I am texting and different things for work. But there's also a lot of time that you're just like, wow, I just spent 30 minutes going up and down on Instagram. Just clicking on things.
I'm totally guilty of that as well. And it's easy, especially in the fitness space and in the entrepreneur space, to be like, oh yeah, well, I have to use these things in order to grow my business. But we all know that like, when we're working and when we're actually just
there's a utility to everything. The first 30 minutes, cool. The next 15 minutes, probably not as much. The next 15 minutes after that, probably just worthless, like scrolling at that point. Like you can get in and out and get a bigger utility of time than the third 15-minute block, the fourth 15-minute block. You're like, then you're down rabbit holes of other things and you're just like on no man's land, I guess you could say.
Awesome. So let's kind of talk about your fitness journey. I think I've seen photos like your transformation online, but let's dig into that a little bit, because you are a leader in the fitness space in Las Vegas, which is a very like this place is full of great fitness places, and you've just built something awesome with what we've got going on with the Strip CrossFit, Tread Vegas, and the Strip Barbell. But it all started with you and your transformation. Tell us a little bit about like what like was the catalyst to that, and how'd you do it? How'd you maintain it?
Yeah. So, it was kind of that, back to kind of what you were saying about well-rounded. I was very non-well-rounded. My goal was to just work. I ate like crap. I didn't exercise. I didn't focus on anything else. My regular order at Wendy's was 2 5-piece chicken nuggets, 2 burgers, French fry, and a Diet Coke. Like I didn't know what health was. I didn't like really even care and or like want to like think about it. I ballooned up in my early 20s. I got all the way up to 285 pounds. And that kind of tipping point was that I was at the store at the time. It's now limited, but it was called Structure back then. I was in the last pair of pants sizes that they had, and they told me that like they didn't have anything that I could wear and that I would need to like go to a big and tall store. And like that was kind of like that transformational or kind of like aha moment of like, hey, you're not a big boned kid. You're not a slow metabolism. You are just lazy. You're out of shape and you eat like shit. And looking at yourself in the mirror and really being like, hey, like nobody is going to do the work that you need to do it. You need to do it yourself. And that started kind of, I mean, a really kind of crazy, like a very strict diet. I mean, I kind of put everything together. I was on ephedra. I was doing low carb, no fat, high protein. I was just eating pure protein every day, no fats, no carbs. Probably still maybe getting 800 to 1,000 calories a day. Not doing it the right way, but I wanted to see change. I wanted to get somewhere else that I wasn't there then. And I mean, had some turmoil down through the ways. I mean, you would still have the parents that would be upset that you wouldn't eat the birthday cake, that wouldn't have popcorn when you went to the movies or something like that. I mean, it was just, it was frustrating that like so many people are willing to like upset your goals because of their like beliefs on food and their beliefs on like what a traditional birthday party needs to be. And that like I get weirded about it now because I have a 3-year-old daughter, and like we'll not let her get up from the table unless she eats the cookie. And it's like, how fucked up is that? That like, I mean, we let her, like, she wants to eat fruit, she wants to eat cheese, she wants to drink her milk, and we won't let her get up from the table until she eats her cookie. That like, I mean, that we're like forcing the sugar on her. And I'm like, oh, like, wow. Like, I can't believe like I'm feeding into the same thing. Obviously we just want her to like or try different things, but like the things that she typically doesn't like are like, are things that are composed dishes, things that are like sugary, like ice cream and stuff like that. She finally just had ice cream again. Ever since she was like 1, she didn't like it, but just took it again and now loves it. But it's just very interesting though, like the fascination that people have with food and like the things that it holds on to in people's lives that they're not willing to change. And I mean, I was that kid. I mean, I would eat a whole pizza with no problem. I would eat a large pizza one sitting. I'd have a second so that I could eat it later on that night or the next day. I mean, I would go to again, spend $7 on the dollar menu back when there was a dollar menu at Wendy's. I don't even know what it is now. I haven't been to Wendy's or like
probably
fast food.
$1.99 or $2.99.
Yeah, I remember the day that they went from a 5-piece nugget to a 4-piece nugget, and it broke my heart. I could remember going through the drive-through and seeing the 99 cents, and it was now 4-piece, and I'm like, it's going to cost me an extra $1 towards what I want.
Get 3 of them.
Yeah, I'm like, inflation. Let alone did I know what's going to happen later on.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's probably $1.99 for the 4-piece now. But yeah, I mean, that was that. I kind of moved completely. I moved across the country. I had lost all the weight then. Then I wasn't really happy with what I was doing work-wise. I was working at a bank. I was going to school at Ohio State. And just wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy the financial side. I didn't enjoy sitting at a bank. I enjoyed the talking camaraderie, the hospitality side of working in a restaurant. And I told my parents that like I was going to put school on pause, and I moved to Vegas and followed hospitality. And then was out here. I was working at Smith & Wolinski, which is one of the big steakhouses on the Strip. Did very well at it, but during the summer months, it was pretty slow. So I started kind of working in nightlife and in hospitality in that regard, and nightclubs and pool parties and that type of stuff, and did that for about 12 years. I transitioned out of restaurants into that, and then found CrossFit, which was kind of a blessing in disguise. It was super hard. It was challenging, but it was rewarding. I had people around. I was able to talk. Like the fitness side now finally made sense. It became more, I was able to do it more frequently without the tough, like drag yourself to the gym, not kind of feeling it. Like I would show up, and irregardless of whether I was feeling it good today or I wasn't, like it was like, all right, like the people brought me up and I left there like, oh wow, that was good. I'm glad I showed up. As opposed to like you go to the gym and it's like, nobody knows I'm here. I could walk in and grab one of the like energy drinks at the front door, stay on the elliptical for 10 minutes, not even have it finished, and I'm walking out the door getting my smoothie on the way out. Yeah. You know, like nobody being like, hey, come back here. Like you haven't done anything yet.
There's a specific thing you have to do.
Yeah. And I mean, group fitness just, was that thing. It was like when it was that like connection piece with other people, kind of like nightlife. It was fun. It was inviting. Like it was hard. Like there was always something new to work on. And it was just kind of that thing that like kept me intrigued and continuing to like want to get better at stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man. So goes back to connection, right? Human connection, finding people, finding a tribe, and really just like getting something. Would you say that is kind of like what, so you made the transformation, then you moved to Vegas.
Yeah.
And then finding that community, do you think you would have been able to sustain that solo, or is community a big part of
I don't know.
what
I mean,
helped you with that?
It's kind of like when people talk about like, oh, is it like having hard family that like made it tough, or that's what made you like who you are or whatever.
Right.
I do think that at times that like if I didn't make the move out of Ohio, that I wouldn't be fit, that I wouldn't be a healthy person, that I would get back into the things and the cycles that like was just what I was, the crab in the bucket kind of, where people are just pulling you back, come back out, have pizza, like come play video games, your same friends. And it was like a blessing in disguise that like I moved across the country. I was supposed to come out here with my best friend. He decided the day before the flight that he wasn't coming, and he had known that for a while. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm going. I sold everything, got rid of my apartment, like closed on everything else. And I'm like, I got my 3 bags. I'm moving to Vegas, irregardless. So it was like kind of a blessing in disguise that I did it and that I moved out here on my own.
Wow.
And it was kind of like, didn't know anybody, had to put yourself out there. You had to meet new people. You had to be in different uncomfortable situations. And it was like learning it all over again, as opposed to just the comforts of back home.
Yeah, that is definitely a hard way to do it, but that's an absolute recipe for growth and for success in the long term once you make it through. Right? Because, I'm sure that story has been told a million times with people who didn't make it and went back. But just your follow through and your ability to like create a life out here is impressive as well.
I mean, casual accident, I guess you could say that it ended up being in fitness. I was doing CrossFit at a gym that happened to be around. It's not here anymore. But I had been doing CrossFit for about 2 or 3 years. And because they were a host gym for seminars, meaning like the certifications for coaching and stuff like that, they were gifted a certain amount each time that they had it there. Well, like I asked if I could do it because I was very like inquisitive about CrossFit and wanted to learn more and like know as much as I could about it. No, didn't want to coach, didn't want to do any of that at the time. But I mean, that gym at the time like got me my level 1, which is needed to open a CrossFit gym.
Right.
And didn't know that 4 years from that point, when it was almost about to expire, that I would actually open a CrossFit gym. But it was the place that like when I wasn't working in nightclubs, when I wasn't at the pool or like being in the social scene, it was the place that like I found the most fun, that I felt the most at home, and that like that thing that like I felt like I could do and that I wouldn't get tired of necessarily. Again, I feel like later on everybody gets tired of everything, and you have to persevere and kind of move through it, and everything becomes work at some point, even though it's fun at first. But I mean, that was kind of what got me into kind of the first gym. That was 7 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, 7 years ago this month, actually, I opened the Strip CrossFit, the first gym.
Well, congrats. 7 years. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's I mean, ups and downs. Obviously went through COVID, had multiple different things happen there. I mean, but I mean, it's just been a growing success. I mean, it just continued to add on, give people opportunities to be able to build their business, to be able to grow within our business, and be able to just kind of have a place that people can find fitness.
Yeah, that's a great thing to provide. And I was actually that was gonna be what I was gonna like transition on next. Anyways, it's just like, you almost like answered my question before I even asked it. Is like, I was gonna ask like, what prompted you? What did you, what made you want to open a CrossFit gym? Yeah. And
so, I mean, there was that. I had jokingly and unjokingly, when I was working in nightlife, one of our head coaches or good coaches, I kept telling him, like, this is the model. You need to open a gym down by the Strip. You can do it purely based on visitors to start. You can organically grow members. You can get people that work in or around the Strip and be able to do it. Because at the time there was like, I think 30 or 35 CrossFit gyms in Vegas, but they were all kind of around like the outer perimeter of Vegas. They were more towards the suburbs. So it really wasn't anything like in the middle of the city yet. And still, I mean, other than us, isn't. But I mean, there was an opportunity there. And again, told him, and I'm like, hey, I'll invest in it if you want to do it. And I mean, eventually just got to the point where like, I just didn't want to be in nightlife. I mean, I was coming up on, I mean, in my 30s, I was in a relationship. I didn't want to stay out late. I didn't want to drink all hours of the night. And like, I wanted to like find what was next. Right. And that was kind of what brought that on 7 years ago.
That's awesome. And the great part about it is you were going to gift it to someone else.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
gift the entire business like model, the like, I mean, the whole like not pro forma or whatever, but like I mean, I basically told him like walked him through how to like build out the business and where to put it ish. Like you still have to find the buildings and all that.
Right.
I mean, those are tough and I mean can be like tough hurdles to come through as well. But yeah.
So in that transition from where you're like coming up with all these ideas, was there like a light bulb moment where like you're like, all right, this guy is never going to take action on this. This is my idea anyways.
Yeah.
Why don't I do it?
Yeah, it was like, so I was working in nightlife. I'd been doing like bottle service and door guy at the different nightclubs in Vegas for almost 10 years. And I mean, I got out of it and I was working on a hotel project that fell through due to financial situations and litigation. It never got off the ground. So I had to go back into nightlife. And it was like the second time that I went back, it was like it wasn't fun anymore. Like I didn't want to stay out late. I didn't want to go to the strip clubs afterwards. I wanted to just go home. I wanted like a more normal life. Mm-hmm. And it was like, that was the point that I was like, all right, like the idea that I was giving somebody else, like maybe I should do it. And I mean, I think that like as good as everything is myself, I mean, the opportunity and to have my wife, my girlfriend at the time, I mean, to back me 100% and be like, hey, no, you need to do this. And like being willing to like not worry about spending quality time and knowing the amount of time that it's going to take to be able to build something and do something great was, I mean, really helpful. That, I mean, I have somebody that, I mean, my wife now, we've been married, I don't even know how many years now. I should have just left that off. I mean, we were
a long time.
Yeah, we were just getting married, no kids at the time. And I mean, it was like, hey, like you want to do it? Now's the time to like do it and like spend the time, do what you need to do. Like I have my job. It's like, I mean, she was working at Topgolf at the time. She'd go in when she needed to. I would wake up at 5 a.m. I would coach all the morning classes myself. I'd go home, take an hour and a half nap if I didn't have an intro or I didn't need to clean the gym. And I'd be back there from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, leave. I'd be in bed by 9:30, 10 o'clock, trying to do a little paperwork in between and like repeat that entire thing for a year and a half, I think, before I actually hired one coach to coach like a couple classes.
So you were like a one-man show the whole time.
So, I mean, it was hard. I mean, building a business, I mean, the only thing that you can control at the beginning is the cost of labor. I mean, it's infinite when it's your own business. If you're not having to pay other people to do it, you can keep the costs low. I mean, I had enough money to pay rent. I mean, I had 12 members when I opened the gym. I had 12 members and we had a decent amount, probably 40 or 50 drop-ins a week. And I'm like, as long as I don't have to pay coaches to be here, I have enough to keep the lights on, pay the air conditioning and the rent. And I'm like, all right, from there I can build it. I'm like, you know, no matter what else happens. I mean, I was still part-time working at nights and weekends at the nightclub to make extra dollars just to like scrap it through. But it was like, all right, as soon as I was able to unload some of that, I was willing to do it. But it was like, hey, this is on me to see it through and make it successful and know that like, hey, like give it your best effort and continue to just like work at it and know that like the more reps you get at it, the better you're going to get. And then like, hey, like bring on somebody else to help you and like show them what you're doing and like, hey, like lead from example and like do the things prior. It's a lot easier to tell other people or ask other people to do it when they know that you've pretty much done everything before.
Yeah. That's the only way I will ever follow anyone.
Yeah.
Is if they are a leader by example.
Yeah.
So that's the perfect way to build that.
Yeah.
Is now you literally have experience, I'm sure, everything there is to experience through that by doing it that way.
Yeah.
But now that you have help, it's even easier. It's like probably it's much better.
Yeah. And I mean, the extra projects, Gym 2 and Gym 3, which I mean, we really haven't talked about. I mean, those were all because I wanted my like staff to have places to like grow. Like I wanted them to like have careers. I wanted them to be able to support a living. I didn't want to have turnover. I wanted to be able to have them be able to move up and be able to provide them extra stuff. So it's like, if I'm going to do that, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to be able to give them more of the business? Well, I need to do more businesses, or I need to do more things to make the business bigger or more well-rounded in other areas. Again, I mean, my first one's a CrossFit gym. I know that not everybody, I could talk to people for an hour and a half, 2 hours about CrossFit. They're still not going to do it. They may or may not do it, but not everybody's going to do it. Yeah. And I mean, that was kind of what started gym number 2, is that like one of my members, a good friend at the time, was coaching at a gym down in Henderson, and it was literally just a treadmill and a dumbbell. And they're like, oh my God, these workouts are amazing. And all he would do is just take my workout, whatever it was for the day, be like, Joe, how can I make this with a treadmill and a dumbbell? And I'd just be like, just do this, and be like, got it, done. And then like on days that it was closed due to the holidays, we'd have workouts still at our gym, because I felt that like unless Christmas, like we were open for at least one class every time or every day. And he'd be like, come with me. Like, I know the gym's closed over here. Just come with me and come do CrossFit. Come do the workout. And they're like, no, I can't do CrossFit. Like it's just not for me. And he's like, dummy, like you're doing CrossFit every day. You're just not using a barbell or whatever. You're not going as heavy, but it's CrossFit. So like, that's kind of what spurred gym number 2. And I was right after COVID, we got an opportunity to take over a small space right next to my CrossFit gym and built out the second concept, which was Tread. More of a boot camp. Yeah. Tread Vegas, more of a boot camp style, non-technical, non-lifting, more just kind of high energy circuit training style workout.
Yeah.
And then that's been there now for 3 years. Yep, 3-year anniversary this month as well. It's funny, the day that I told my wife that I was going to do a second gym was the day that she told me that she was pregnant. So it was kind of like, I know, yeah, it was kind of crazy that, I mean, they both coincided right around the same time. And then we opened it a year later, right around the same time as my daughter was born. So my daughter's 3 and the gym's 3, the second one. So it's like, yeah, having 2 little 3-year-olds.
Twins.
Yeah, twins. Yeah, both in different capacities, but yeah, well, it's just as fun.
That's awesome. And honestly, Tread Vegas is so cool. And how I initially like got my radar to Tread Vegas is I used to coach at OTFs around the city.
Yeah.
So Orange Theories. And
yeah.
Tread is, after taking, was something that was created by you, but they have a similarity.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're running and you're doing high intensity, but the lifting is better at Tread.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah. We tried to blend a little bit more and make it not so structural in terms of times. Meaning that like the Orange Theory style format or like the Barry's boot camp, they're very structured in that it's like a 15-minute or a 20-minute tread block. And then it's a 15 or a 20-minute floor piece, or just like regular like strength training with like just more like non-high energy, like non-explosive movements, nothing like that. It's just kind of just compound, just regular lifts, bicep curls, presses, some squats and stuff like that. Not the CrossFit stuff, not the dynamic things as much, but kind of not blending it either. Yeah. So we used a manual treadmill, which allows for easy, quick on and offs of the tread with floor space, and did much more of a blended style. So it was more HIIT style in terms of the tread. You were going there for 3 or 5 minute iterations as opposed to a 20-minute run or a 20-minute like incline like walk. You were going on it and not kind of getting as like burned out on like, hey, I'm just going to run for 15 minutes or bored. Right. The boredom doesn't, by the time boredom starts to set in, you're back onto the floor doing a different strength exercise or a different plyometric movement and kind of blending that style, much more like a CrossFit workout, just without the technical movements and some of the higher skill stuff.
Right. I think it's a really incredible like hybrid concept.
Yeah.
That I think is doing so well because it's so, once you've done it, it's CrossFit-esque. Yeah. Right. So it's kind of like, but it's much less intimidating. Yeah. For a clientele that would never walk into a CrossFit.
The skill level is, I mean, the skill level to be like brought in and just be able to complete a workout and be able to be good or be able to get something out of the movement is much easier. It's a lower barrier of entry in terms of knowing how to move and having like coordination with a certain type of movement, like a barbell or rings, or being able to do like gymnastic style movement and moving your body in space a lot more. It's a lot easier, a lot more coachable to get into. And then still obviously plenty hard where, I mean, you can go up to heavier weights or do more reps or run faster and be able to increase heart rate and or increase weights and be able to make the workouts more difficult as you get more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Plus the blue lights and the nightclub type setting
Yeah.
doesn't hurt. It,
Yeah, it's a
it
cool
definitely has its
atmosphere.
own atmosphere that I mean, it's very catchy. That like a lot of people like
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I've seen that blue room before, or
Yeah.
like I've seen those blue lights before, and that's what that is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you do a great job at hiring too.
Yeah.
So the leaders of the classes are
Yeah.
not only knowledgeable, but they're fun and they're
Yeah.
interactive. And that's another thing I kind of wanted to touch on as well. Is just the community that you've
Yeah.
created. Between these gyms, it's almost like I think Jared called it the campus.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's funny. I mean, every time I've been burned on coaches, it was when I hired somebody based on credentials, not based on being part of the community. Every single time. Like I don't have no. Every single one was partially member
Mhm.
and in the tribe before they became a coach at Tread or before they became a coach at CrossFit. They've all been like inundated with like, hey, I want to be here. This is my thing.
Mhm.
And it wasn't just like, hey, this is where like I make money. This was like,
Right.
hey, where I make money, but this is the people I want to be around and the
Right.
community that I'm part of first.
Mhm.
Every other time it was like very quick to like lose focus and or move on to something else that would like deter or like would be bigger opportunity. And it's always been better. And it's like you can like teaching people to care about other people is hard. Teaching people how to coach people through a workout or be able to do movement or to squat or to press, like that's the easy stuff. I mean,
Right.
if you have people that care about the other people that are in the room, that care about their progressions, that care, like the other day, like being able to like run for 15 minutes straight without walking, like and the coach sees that you care, like they see the member sees that the coach truly cares and was like congratulatory towards it and like emotional towards it. Like that's the stuff that you'll never be able to like coach. You could be the best, most articulate like DDS doctor, like of like sports medicine. But if you don't like have a like interconnection with the person, if you don't know how like to empathize with where they're at or their goals or where they're at in life or what happened at work or anything like that, then like, I mean, none of that matters. Like, I mean, and to most people, they don't really care. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, but if you care about them and you're like excited to see them and like, that's much more to them than being able to like coach perfect form day one. Like you'll learn, you'll get the reps, you'll continue to get better. And by year 2, you're like, oh my God, this is the best coach, his energy, his care. But like, it's because of where they started.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. So at Tread,
Yeah.
do you guys? Are the workouts designed like in on an individual basis? Like, do you write the workouts for Tread?
So I write them, and then right now, like I have coaches, like I wrote them for the first 2 years, and now I've handed it off to our head coach to write it.
Okay.
I still look over every week before I put it into the computer and have conversations about different things, but there's a general understanding or a basis that's kind of hit with it.
Right.
That I mean, every workout's 30 minutes, that there's a floor component, there's a tread component, there's a focus of the day, but that doesn't mean that it's the only thing that we're working on. There's different ways to blend it. There's different ways to make it more exciting, whether it's 1 minute, or 3-3 or 5-5 or 6-5-4. But like everything adds up to 30 total minutes between the tread side and the floor side. So it's 15 minutes and 15 minutes. However we break that up could be like different to keep it, again, just more engaging, that it doesn't get monotonous, or that it's not, hey, it's Tuesday, we're going to do 10 by 10 squat, or hey, it's Wednesday, we're going to do bicep curls for
Right.
7 minutes and then we're going to run. It doesn't get like, the boredom doesn't set in
Right.
that capacity, but there's still like underlying like
Right.
areas of like, hey, like our goal is that we want to get a certain number of reps with a certain style or a certain like RPE weight wise for these movements, and getting our members to understand a little bit more of that as they get better with the classes, knowing that like, hey, I can press this for 10, I should probably go a little heavier. Hey, if I could press it for 15, I should probably grab the next one that allows me to only be able to do it 10 times.
Yeah.
But each person is individually moved throughout the room in terms of like coached down or coached up. We can be able to increase or decrease the workout from the like plan that we have for the day.
Right. Yeah. And the best part about both places is it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And that's why people love it so much.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a firm believer that anything you do for longevity, you will get better at. I used to not be that way. When I first opened the gym, it was like, hey, you either do this X, Y, Z exactly as I tell you, or it's like, I don't want you to be a member. And
Yeah.
it's like, like you lose members and you're like, I wonder why I don't have anybody here on a Thursday. Well, it's because Joe said that we're doing 700 burpees today. And like, if I only want to do 650 because I'm having a bad day, he's probably going to ask me to leave.
Yeah.
And it's like my emotional and like response to, all right, well, like, hey, you tell me that you hate the assault bike. Cool. What do you want to do? All right. Well, you hate running. Okay, cool. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
You're here. I'm excited that you're here. And like the more times that you show up, the more buy-in you're going to have towards me and towards my coaches and towards the methodology, because you'll have more buy-in by the people that are around you that help support you and that also help like almost, I don't want to say peer pressure, but like you'll go for the run eventually. You know, you'll get off the bike eventually. You'll do a burpee because everybody else is doing it. But like if you're just like, hey, the door's over there, you told me, like that was me. Now it's like, all right, well, what do you want to do? Like you're here, like let's get you doing something. As long as it doesn't like affect the rest of the room, and as long as everybody else is still getting their thing, like I'm not so like hard and strict on it. And I mean, my coaches would, tell you the same thing, that I've changed a lot. And there's times that rattle off names. I still know like certain people in my head where I'm just like, there's the door. Like just because it was like my way or the highway. This is my workout. I write the place. It's like, they're like, well, I pay to be here. I'm like, well, I don't want your money. And like, I'm like, well, that's not going to get anybody any better. And like now my philosophy is like, hey, like if I get you to 100 classes, you'll probably be bought in. If I can get you to 400 or 500 classes, you're probably not going anywhere, because it's like part of your day. It's part of your structure. And because you're not going anywhere, you're going to get fitter. You know what I mean? If you're showing up 4 to 5 days a week, it's impossible to go backwards. You're going to get fitter. Now, food comes into play. And if you're not doing those things, you may not lose the weight that you want, but you're going to be stronger, or you're going to have a little bit more cardio capacity than if you didn't do it.
You're definitely moving in the right direction.
You're collecting ones instead of zeros. That's what I always say, is it's like, well, maybe I'd rather have half or 75% effort than a zero, like not showing up, or obviously even worse, going the opposite way. You put together 3 or 4 days of not doing anything, and now it's very hard for you to get back into the structure of like just showing up.
And I think that goes back to another way of like what you said, like how you kind of like transition from like my way to or the highway to, okay, you don't like this, what would you do today? Right. And I think that's a great approach and a great pivot on your point, because like you said, those people that would have left if they had to do something they didn't want to do, because they had an option to do something else, like it made them feel like more accepted. But also they see everyone else do the thing that they couldn't do. And it makes them want to do it. And so they eventually do it without you pushing them and saying like, all right, well, leave if you can't, type thing.
Plus, again, I think, people like try to argue with me all the time that they're like, oh, I could do this on my own. I'm like, yes, you could. I'm like, but how long are you going to do it? And at what effort are you going to give it? And what length are you going to do it? You have a vacation coming up. You have a wedding coming up. You have a photo shoot coming up. But like, what happens the day after? Like a 90-day challenge. Like that's always the one I always kind of laugh about, is like, or like a 30-day or a 6-week challenge. Like, well, what happens on 6 weeks in one day? Do you go back to like old like me, or like are you still doing it? And like if I can have somebody there for that long period of time and like not think about like, hey, there's an end point, but like this is me, this is what I do on a Tuesday, this is where I'm at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday, then now you're going to be able to rewire the person to be able to be the fit person, to be the person that can do pull-ups, the person that can run a mile, the person that can do whatever they want to do, but they've just now put in the reps to be able to do it. Like rep one's the hardest. Getting in through the front door is the hardest thing for most people to do. That first 90 days, if they're beyond 90 and they're coming 15, 18 times a month, they're starting to buy in, and now things are a lot more permeable. Things, you can mold them a little bit more and give them a little bit more coaching. That like day one's very difficult, where they're kind of shut off and they like don't want it to work because they don't know, like, because nothing else has worked in the past. Everything else is like they've tried, didn't give them the success that they were looking for, and they want to give every reason to why this doesn't work for them and that fitness isn't for them, and like just be like, hey, just show up. Like, I don't care. Like, you're not feeling good. Hey, just show up. I can show you something else over on the side. Broke your leg. Show up. I'll find you something else to do. Like, I'll give you something.
Upper
like,
body.
Hey, you know what? Torn bicep. All right, we're doing legs for a lot, and we're doing cardio. We'll work on that. And I'll give you your PT stuff to do off to the side. But I just want you here Because if you're not here, you're not going to probably do it.
Right.
You know, so like I'd rather have that than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And like so much more of that now is kind of my like more like philosophy on it.
Yeah. That's awesome. So the Strip CrossFit, Tread Vegas.
Yeah.
So Strip CrossFit 7 years old, Tread is 3.
Yeah.
And then
The Strip Barbell.
twins became triplets.
Yeah. So that became, so our classes were, I mean, a very good thing. Our classes were too busy at CrossFit to allow early on, if like you were visiting from out of town and you're like, hey, like there's no barbells at my gym or at the hotel. Like, can I come in and just deadlift, or can I snatch, or can I clean over on the side? Or like, I have a program that I'm following. Can I just use your space to be able to do my workout?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Come in, pay the $25. I don't care. Whatever it is. Like the classes got too busy at the point where like I could just let people do whatever they want. And like the only time that we had open gym was from 10 to noon. So very tough for somebody who's like here for work or anything like that. So like me and my business partner at the time decided we were using it as a small like storage area. And we're like, hey, like we have 300 square feet in the front room of Tread. Let's put in a weight rack and a lifting platform and just rent it by the hour. Charge $25. If we get 4 a day, that's $100. $100 times 30 days, that's $3,000. More than pays for its equipment within X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, wow, like great idea. And it worked. And it like we were renting it by the hour, and it had its own website. It was called the Strip Barbell, and it was just a room that you rented. It was private to you for that 1 hour.
And that was it's
now the nutrition
area?
office.
Okay.
Now the nutrition office, that was an entire lifting suite. So like lifting platform with all the best Olympic lifting like plates. I didn't want people to think it was just like leftover stuff that we just shoved in a room.
Mm-hmm.
I want like it was the best of the best. I mean, it was like close to like $18,000 of equipment for 300 square feet of space.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was the best of the best. And I mean, from Rogue and I mean, lifting platforms and all that. But I mean, it had a lot of its drawbacks. Like you only got it for the hour. If you got there 10 minutes late, you still only got 50 minutes because like somebody else could have it for the next hour after you, and it was 300 square feet. You can't really share it with somebody else unless it was like a friend or a wife or buddy or something like that. And just got to the point where like we were like, I was fielding 10, 15 calls a day. Do you have treadmills? Do you have dumbbells? Do you have like this? Do you have that? And it was like, no. And I'm like, fuck, well, like there's a business. And so like I sat down, I'm like, I want to do this. And like, we found a spot that was also in our parking lot, and decided that, hey, that 350 square foot gym was going to become a 5,000 square foot barbell 24-hour gym space. We're fortunate enough to meet you, along with 7 other trainers that we have there and our 50 members that we have. Again, it's a private gym. It's 5,000 square feet. It's not super big. It's not a big like Globo gym, but like when you're in the gym, you're probably one of like 10 people. Like it's a small community, tight knit group of people. Like you don't have the huge crowds of the big gyms and stuff like that. That being said, on the podcast, if anybody listens this far into it, we are expanding it. We just signed the lease to add an additional 3,500 square feet of space to the right of it. That's going to be more machines, more additional floor space, plus 1,000 square foot recovery space, which will have 3 infrared saunas and cold plunge and showers and all of that over there as well. So yeah, that is to come in the new year. So that's the new project. Yeah. So infrared saunas from Sunlighten. We partnered with them on that. We haven't figured out which cold plunge that we're going to do yet, but we will have cold plunge there as well, along with showers, and that'll all be 24 hours as well and included with the membership. So like even more reason to like be part of the membership here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have a great thing where like there's an umbrella membership as well where you can get all 3.
Yeah. I find that like, the goal is to keep people moving and to keep people doing things for long periods of time. And if you can give them more opportunities in other areas to be able to do so, you'll find that their fascination will stay within the group. Mm-hmm. Like when you only have one specific thing and you do it for a very long period of time, boredom does start to set in, or you find other goals, or your times change with work, or any number of different things. But if like you can keep people within like your like circle of stuff that like, somebody gets injured. We had somebody like tear their bicep and had to go, but they were doing all their PT work. They were still doing their strength stuff over at Barbell while still being part of the community. They'd see the coaches over there. They'd see us, and they weren't removed from it, but they were just not doing the CrossFit classes. Right. They weren't doing the boot camp classes, but they were still doing their training within our training spaces that like we can keep people around much longer and continue to keep that success and keep people coming back. And again, I mean, the more offerings I have different, like, I mean, you could continue to charge more and more and more and like compound it on top of it, or like, hey, I only want this option. Instead, it's like, hey, like people are pretty much only going to use one option of the multiples. They're not doing 3 workouts a day unless they're you. But I mean, most people are only doing 1 hour of in addition to everything else that they have going on in their life. So, I mean, if it's CrossFit today and it's tread tomorrow and it's open gym over at Barbell, like why not allow them to use all 3? Why ticky tack like for this or that? And then it's like, now they have a $400 or $500 membership because they're paying for 3 or 4 different spaces.
Right.
Like, let's just keep them around longer and keep them more energized and like excited about coming.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been the approach. And that's what we've continued to just like go with, is just like continue to give people more options, and you'll continue to like better your product.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with that. And it's such a beautiful space too.
Yeah.
And it's got everything you need. And with the expansion, with just the cherries on top of like the recovery stuff with the cold plunge and the infrared, and then the additional machines and stuff like that. You know, people need that. People need a space where, like Barbell, where they can. It's hard to do CrossFit 7 days a week. Yeah, you know, some days you need something a little less intense.
I mean, you don't. I mean, I do it 6 days a week myself, and I have been for 7 years
I guess
straight.
Need is a relative term.
I mean, you don't need intensity 7 days a week. You don't need competition speed 7 days a week, but you can do CrossFit style workouts. When the problem is the blend of the two is what people kind of gets missed in the message, is that CrossFit is just mixed methodology with intensity. Now, intensity is based on the individual and based on like what you need for the day. So, I mean, you don't need to push 90%, 95% intensity, 100% intensity every single day. If you're doing that and dosing that in the proper amounts, and then you're also getting some strength lifts on other days, and you're giving people core work and cardio and stretching and coach-led like stretching and things like that, that like you can blend 5 days and make it coach-led. The CrossFit component is the high intensity, but it's at what point or what is tolerable for the individual. What do they need for the day? And then like you come in, you just say, hey, you're smoked. Like, all right, like I just want you to do this. I want you to keep your heart rate below this every time it isn't. Stop, move around a little bit, and then get back at it. Or like I had a conversation with a guy the other day, and I mean, I wish I could go to more doctor's visits with people because they told him that he can't do CrossFit. And I said, well, what can't you do? And he said, well, I can't get my heart rate above 150. I was like, great. He's like, what do you mean? I'm going to have to do this. I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like, you're modifying it for you. Like, just because he's doing it doesn't mean you have to do it. Yeah. Like, keep your heart rate below 150. Every time it gets close, stop, take a deep breath, and eventually you'll be able to build heart rate, and you'll be able to build it. You can come in, get coaching, get the community, get the movement that you need on a day in, day out basis that you won't do by yourself. And we call it CrossFit. And it is CrossFit. It's constantly varied functional fitness done at high intensity when necessary. You know what I mean? Like, but like that when necessary or when applied properly is the part that most people from the outside don't think about. Is that like, hey, when the coaching is right, like you're doing it based on the individual and you're giving them if you're being coached at it, you're not giving it 100% effort every day. You're not running a marathon. Game day is not every day. Right. You know what I mean? But there's fun days where, I mean, when it's you and a buddy or you and 3 people and you know what the time is of the day that you want to get after it, awesome. But you know what? That's not what you're doing every single day. And I don't want you doing it like that every single day.
We're laying a foundation most days.
Yeah. I mean, just continuing to like work on quality, work on structure, get stronger. And then like, hey, a couple times a week, like just put the pedal to the floor and get after it, you know? And like you're laying flat on the back and you're like, all right, that was fucking CrossFit. Yeah, that was. But like you don't need that. You don't need that every day. And I mean, I think that like very early on, CrossFit got kind of the bad rap of like, hey, like when people would come in that were fit, that you had to prove that CrossFit was hard. And it was like that you had to prove that like what the methodology was, and that it was like could be very humbling. And if you give somebody a 40-minute workout that has tons of deadlifts and lots of running, they're going to be sore the next day. If you make somebody do thrusters and burpees for 7 minutes straight, they're going to be gassed. They're probably going to want to throw up. Yeah. But like if that's what you want to get them back tomorrow, like, no, you missed the point. Like, no, it's to like get stronger tomorrow, to get them to be able to do whatever you want them to do today better tomorrow, stronger tomorrow. And the only way to do that is not to have them puking in the bucket every single day.
Yeah.
You know,
Keep them
like,
there.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, unless they just stay there because they can't get up off the floor,
Right.
but they're still there for the next day.
Yeah,
Like
right.
by the time the same class starts the next day, like, oh, John's still here.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, John slept here. John's legs don't work. He did 100 thrusters yesterday and
Yeah.
he's still laying there on the floor
Yeah.
with a bucket next to him and a protein shake.
Yeah.
No, like, I mean, that's obviously not the goal. I mean, the goal is to get them like to continue to progress. And again, I mean, I think some of that does get lost. And I mean, and again, I mean, doctors, I had any number of situations where, I mean, you're like, oh, you can't do CrossFit. Like CrossFit, no, not anymore. You're 70 years old.
Yeah.
You can't do CrossFit. Well, what do you mean? I can't like stand up, sit down, push weight, pull weight. Like, what do you mean? Like, what does that mean to you? Like,
Yeah.
all right, well, like, am I limited or are you just saying that you don't understand it? Like, why are you
okay.
telling me that I can't do it? I'm going to figure out like where the barrier is and like what you're capable of. And like, now, like, let's move that forward.
Right. Cool. I mean, that's the thing too. It's a dynamic thing. So it doesn't have to be one size fits all in like a line.
No.
Right. So with the expansion of the gym from CrossFit to tread to barbell and just the creation of this community.
Yeah.
Like the Strip CrossFit, like that play. What would you call like all three?
Trifecta?
The trifecta. Yeah, the trifecta of those has created like this community, and it's just like there's a great culture there too.
Yeah, I mean, we want to. The goal is to continue to do more. I mean, I'm not like, I mean, just like anything in life, you always want to get better, you always want to get bigger, and you want to like be able to bring more people on for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I feel the same way about that. I mean, like, is there opportunity for Pilates? Probably. Is there opportunity for yoga? Yeah. Is there opportunity for cycle? Maybe. Like, I don't know if that's still as popular. I mean, there was a pretty big cycle like phase, and maybe it's just because I don't follow the right things, or the algorithm on Instagram doesn't send it to me all the time now. But like, I mean, there's other fitness methodologies that can be like brought in, that again, the goal is to just keep people moving, keep bodies in motion, and get people fitter than where they were yesterday.
Right.
And I mean, whatever they latch onto that creates consistency, and that isn't a short-term reward, or isn't like, hey, a short-term race per se, or like a 30-day goal or a 60-day goal. Like if your goal is, hey, I'm working out for life, so that when my last 10 years of my life, that I could still get up and down the stairs, that I don't need to be in like a nursing home, that I don't have to be like overlooked. Well, then that's what I want to see. You know what I mean? It's not like, I mean, you can have specific goals of running a race, playing in a competition, doing all that. Those are great, but like, those are like the peripheries. Those are like the one-offs. Like, hey, I just want you training for health and like doing that more regularly. And then like, if you have something that you want to work on specifically, awesome, go and do it. You know what I mean? I'll see you when you're done with that marathon race that you're training for, or like, hey, you want to go climb or go hike or jiu-jitsu or whatever it is, like go do it. But like, when you just need fitness, just stay healthy and be part of people and be around other individuals. Like that's what our gym is. Like our workouts are on our website. Like if you want to do it's not the special sauce is like the workout. Like, yes, I think I write good workouts. I think I like coach it through, and I think I like bring people about it the right way that you wouldn't get just by looking on the website. But like the website has every workout on there. It has everyone for the last 7 years. Like you can go to EOS or wherever that has a bumper plate and be able to do the workout. Are you going to get to like high five anybody afterwards? Are you going to get the modifications from the coach because you were up late the night before and you're tired and you look it? Like, no. Like, are you going to get that extra push from like the people that are around you that like did it a little faster? No. Like that's what we provide, is that like community, a place that be able to like provide the workout.
And you've also provided with the barbell too, another just area for people to grow their business. Me, and the 7 other trainers that are there. Yeah. That's another just area of growth and a way to like bring value to people who are putting value back into your business, but also just growing their own as well. Yeah. You know,
maybe nervous at first. Like I always thought that like personal training was like the like enemy. Mm-hmm. And it's not. Like there's enough unfit people that like have like, just like somebody might like CrossFit or somebody might like tread. Right. Like somebody also might like just having one-on-one with a personal trainer because they're comfortable and like they need to like get the like understanding and they want that personal connection. They want to work on something specific to their goals. They don't want a well-rounded like workout like program that they like to work on something more catering towards their thing or their time of the day or whatever it is. And I always thought that like by doing something like that, I'm like, I'm going to lose members. I'm going to lose this. And it's like the opposite. It's like you actually like gain more people.
Because a lot of times when you get other people to bring other people in who wouldn't normally come in for that specific thing, they start seeing it and they're like, oh, maybe I'll try that out.
Yeah, we got a lot of crossover. I mean, a lot of people that would try CrossFit purely from coming in for a tread class. They'd be on the like sharing a section with a tread and a floor space with somebody else that was a CrossFit member, and they'd be like, "Wow, you're really strong." Like, yeah, it's because I do that next door 3 days a week, and I do this twice a week. They're like, well, what's that? They're like, CrossFit. Oh, I can't do CrossFit. No, just come with me one day. You know what I mean? And like they try, and they're like, oh, okay, like I can do it. Like I didn't know that like the stuff on TV isn't like what I like. Yeah, it's different. There's levels or progressions to it, but yeah, that's at the peak of the sport of CrossFit. But I mean, there's all the way down to, I mean, CrossFit just being like, hey, stand up, sit down. Yeah. You know what I mean? Do it 100 times and like get your heart rate up. You know what I mean? Like that can be the easiest version of it. And there's like tons of variations in between.
That's awesome. Well, we are close to an hour already.
Awesome. Yeah.
And
talk forever. It's easy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, what you're doing, what you've done, building this is like, it's changing a ton of lives. Like we're just with like, we were looking at the 500 class board today, and there's signatures up on it and all over the 100 class and the 300 class. And those signatures are representatives of lives being changed.
Yeah. Now we have the 1,000 board.
The 1,000 board now too.
Yeah. We don't have as many signatures, but like, it was like, there was tons of people in the 700-800s, and we're like, fuck, like gotta give at least another like strive mark. And we were like 750. And I'm like, there's too many people already at 750. I'm like, all right, let's put like a 1K club up there, 1,000 mark. So yeah, we just installed that last Friday. And we got 6 signatures up there already, and a bunch more that are pretty close.
Nice. I'm gonna have to look and see how many I've done so far. I need to get up there. I'm probably under 20.
Yeah, even at 250 a year, that's still a 4-year commitment right there.
For sure.
Yeah, and that's 5 days a week. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I mean, I appreciate everything that you're doing. You're changing a ton of lives. I appreciate the opportunity you're giving for independent trainers as well. Just the space, the classes that you provide and the space that you provide them in are also beautiful. And just such quality. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for sitting down and having this chat with me. I know a ton of people are going to take a lot away from it. And, Thank you also for providing an opportunity to build my business as well. And, I'm excited for, what the future has for Barbell and Strip CrossFit and Tread Vegas, and to be a part of it. So
appreciate you for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, if you want to tell anyone, let everyone know how they can get a hold of you, if they want to come take a class, or they want to check it out. Where can they reach you? Where can they come check it out at?
The best is just on our Instagrams or our websites, the Strip CrossFit, the Strip Barbell, or Tread Vegas. Those are 3. My personal as well, Joe Tepe LV, works too, and I answer the phones for all 3, and I also answer all the Instagrams. So you're getting me regardless on there. It's still not a operator, a person, or an agent yet. So I mean, I'm not at that point where I can't. Call, you get me.
Okay, excellent, man. I love it, and thanks again, and I appreciate you.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it. It was fun,
guys. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. Again, if you made it this far and you haven't subscribed and you haven't followed yet, click that subscribe, click that follow down below. I appreciate it. Can't wait to continue to provide valuable shows for you guys each and every week. Thank you again for being here, and we'll see you next week.